Good morning. It's my pleasure to start our day by introducing Bill Johnson, Group Vice President and Chief Transformation Officer at DCP Midstream. DCP is a Denver-based Fortune 500 energy company with a footprint of integrated natural gas processing and downstream assets. Bill joined DCP in 2011, has 20 years of experience in the refining and chemical industries. Bill also serves on a number of boards, including the Colorado Symphony, Bond's Vision, and an advisory committee on the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. Bill has graciously agreed to speak with us this morning. And with that, I'd like to welcome Bill Johnson.
All right, thanks, Bill. Thanks to the Intercom team for having us here today. I'm excited to talk a little bit about what we're doing at DCP relative to sustainability and some of our great initiatives on that front. I'm going to jump right into the first slide. I'm Bill Johnson. As Bill just said, I'm the Chief Transformation Officer at DCP Midstream. We're a Fortune 500 company headquartered here in Denver. We do integrated midstream services in 9 different states, as you can see on the map. We're one of the biggest NGL producers and gas processors in the US. We operate gas processing plants, pipelines, NGL pipelines, residue pipelines, fractionators, primarily in the DJ, in the Mid-Continent, in the Eagle Ford, Gulf Coast, and the Permian. The last few years, as you can see on the right side of the slide here, we've been very focused on operational excellence. We've been very focused on building an integrated value chain where we've been increasing our fee-based earnings. We definitely have a strategy of being supply long and capacity short. We don't want to be the last builder of gas plants in a basin. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what we call our DCP 2.0 transformation, which is really about using technology differentially to drive better results in our business. And we're all about enhancing our culture in the company and living our purpose, which is building connections to enable better lives. I might talk for a minute about how this relates to the environment we're in. And, we feel like our company is just suited to operate in the crazy environment that is happening here in 2020. We're all about ensuring safe operations, maximizing our runtime and our reliability for our customers, being efficient as possible. So while we have all that going on, and it's certainly been a busy year on that front, we haven't let sustainability take a backseat in our focus. So I'm going to go to the next slide and talk a little bit about why we're so focused on sustainability at DCP. When we look across the energy industry, sustainability approach is really increasingly important and not optional. You've seen a strong emphasis in other industries and focus on ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And we really think it's an ante to get a seat at the table and be in the game and operate these kinds of assets. Increasingly, investors now have conscious capitalism approach that focuses not just on our financials, not just on what we do, but how we do it. We're very focused on that too. How we do things is just important to us as what we do. Internally, this has become a very important part of our culture and part of our discussions every day. Ensuring we do the right thing and do things right for our communities, for our stakeholders, for our customers, for our employees. It's critical to our whole team at DCP that we're doing things right. So now, not only is it time to invest resources in sustainability, but for us, we do feel like the time is now, and maybe it's not as much of a stretch for an oil and gas company as some might think. And that's because we build our sustainability focus on some of the infrastructure and foundation that we've set with our transformation program. So I'm going to go on to the next slide and talk about how we've been creating the future and driving operations of the future in DCP. Looking at this slide, it really talks about what we call our DCP 2.0 transformation program. That's a program we set up starting about 5 years ago. I'm going to give a quick overview with our 3 key focus areas. First of all, we wanted to achieve real-time optimization and decision-making. Too many times in the past in companies like ours, to optimize assets or really understand what was going on end to end in the business, we needed data from multiple siloed data sources in the company. We wanted to build a system that would use real-time data from all of those sources, from our engineering systems, from our contracts, from our operational systems, all the way through to our financial systems, to be able to make real-time decisions about the assets and optimize up and down the value chain that we've created. This means we'd be optimizing our reliability and increasing margins. Secondly, we wanted to be able to digitally enable our workforce. In a lot of cases, we still have employees, and I think people across this industry still have employees that tend to operate on paper and clipboards and manual spreadsheets. We wanted to redefine that. We wanted to digitize the work, make the work available on devices like phones, just like it happens in the rest of your life. And finally, we wanted to increase cash flow while diminishing risk. We wanted to use these concepts of having all the data together and being able to optimize the assets and digitally enabling our employees to really drive increased margins and better insight into risk and reduce risk in the company. So all along that chain, we wanted to also maintain a great culture, a culture that is innovative and agile and empowers our employees to drive improvements in the business. In all of this, better safety outcomes happened as well, and along with better reliability. Higher margins, cost savings were all outcomes of what we set up. So our foundation for thinking about sustainability is really built on our innovative culture and how we think about our DCP 2.0 transformation program. So how does that relate to sustainability and ESG? I'm going to go on to the next slide. So with the infrastructure we put in place from our DCP 2.0 transformation program, we felt like it was time for us to draw a line in the sand relative to our ESG performance. How are we doing environmentally, social, and governance? How are we going to get better? Before we could really build out our strategy, we felt like we really had to nail down where we needed to improve, assess our current condition, and make a public report about where we stood. So earlier this year, we published our first ever inaugural sustainability report for DCP. We covered the work that we had done to date without really having a cohesive ESG plan in place. Our next step was to use our existing infrastructure that we built as part of DCP 2.0 to drive improvement in our results and better outcomes on the ESG front. So you could see some of those things on the left side here, using our integrated collaboration center. It's our central nervous system for the company, where we pull together all of our data, literally billions of data points every day, to fully evaluate and optimize our operations. We remotely operate 20 of our gas plants from our headquarters here in Denver. We have a technology ventures arm, which I'm going to talk more about in a minute, that allows us to source new technology that allows us to improve our operational performance. And finally, we have a high-tech, software-driven decision support system that gives people all around our organization insight into our assets and the performance and the opportunities, again, in real time, 24/7, every day. So I want to dive a little bit more into the technology ventures arm that we have, and it's on the next slide. For us, making meaningful change in our sustainability means being on the cutting edge, being in front of everyone else. In order to achieve the results that we want to achieve, we pilot technologies through our technology ventures arm, while working also internally to enhance our processes, ensure we're operating in the leanest mode that we can. We really believe in a lean manufacturing mode of operating these types of assets. Our ventures team is based in Silicon Valley. We partner with startups, accelerators, venture capital companies, universities, and we form literally global alliances to find and source and review and pilot new technology. Over the last 2 years or so, we've evaluated over 2,500 startups across 25 different verticals, looking for solutions specifically to problems or opportunities that we have within DCP. You can see we've had several successful pilots and rollouts. We have many of those going on an ongoing basis. And these all, in one way or another, support our sustainability efforts. You could see in the bottom right there that we have all of this, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, safety technologies. Each one of those has solutions that are aimed at improving our sustainability results. So let's talk about some of those results. On the next slide, you can see some of the things that we've put in place with our 2.0 program and our ventures team, and talk about some of the outcomes and how they relate to our sustainability program. So first of all, I talked a little bit already about our integrated collaboration center and our decision support system. The ICC, or Integrated Collaboration Center, is the central nervous system of the company. We bring together all the data from the entire company, and we see everything that's happening in real time. Some of the impacts that we have from that are greenhouse gas emissions reductions, because we can see where all the gas is all the time. We can optimize our compression. We can shut down units that don't need to be running in standby. We can also respond to events much quicker because we can see what's happening in the system. So areas where we may have had emissions or flaring or other things in the past, we're able to respond to and stop almost immediately. So the ICC, in addition to having great economic outcomes and allowing us to optimize our assets, also has sustainability benefits. We use artificial intelligence around our contracts. We use a product called ThoughtTrace. We've been, very involved with the ThoughtTrace team. This product allows us to move so much faster through our contract. You can imagine, I described the company and the assets earlier. A company like ours, we have thousands and thousands of contracts. Some of those contracts are over 50 years old. So when we need to find contract terms or make changes or evaluate contracts, our ability to go through those and find things that our commercial team needs, it's had tremendous benefit using artificial intelligence to do that. So we're really proud of this initiative. And I think when we talk about ESG and sustainability, giving our employees tools that reduce the amount of manual effort and make their jobs easier is an important part of that. We also use what we call the connected frontline worker. So our field workers, and we're still piloting this in a lot of areas of the company, but we use a smart glasses technology, almost like Google Glasses. The thing we use is called RealWear. This changes the paradigm of how work gets done in the field. And it's also allowing us to push forward with what we call workforce of tomorrow, where we have multi-skilled field workers. So rather than kind of falling into the past conventions of needing mechanics and instrument technicians and electricians and others, we now have a remote field technician that is multi-skilled, that can solve multiple different issues in the field, whether it's an electrical issue, an operational issue, or a mechanical issue. And we enable those people with the smart glasses, with the RealWear, that allows them to solve problems, get in the field faster, evaluate problems faster, tap into subject matter expertise through the tools, and ensure that we're operating reliably and sustainably. We're also doing a lot on pipeline leak prevention and detection. And for us, this is not just an environmental thing, but also, I described the company earlier. We're a natural gas processing and transportation company. Keeping gas in the pipelines is our business. And so we work very hard on this, and I'm going to talk a little bit more in a slide or two here about some of our efforts on this front, specifically with remote methane detection and how we really go about doing that. It's been a great addition for us, and again, both from an environmental standpoint and from a margin standpoint, keeping gas in the pipes and making sure we know where that is all the time, and using some really cool technology to do that has had great benefits for us. You know, we have some gathering systems that are extremely old, and as much as we've done everything we can to take care of those, you know, this is just another way for us to kind of constantly monitor for leaks and make sure that we're being proactive around our system. And finally, we have a set of tools that are built in-house called equipment health monitoring. We operate a huge fleet of compression across DCP, and ensuring that that compression is healthy and running well and running efficiently and running within all of the compliance requirements. We're able to monitor that real time with tools that we've built and deployed across the entire fleet. And we're also able to very proactively and predict the maintenance events and issues with the compression using those tools. So really proud of the team and the efforts that they've done there. So I'm going to go on to the next slide and talk specifically about some of our efforts on leak detection. You know, one of the companies that our ventures team came across over the last couple of years is a company called Kairos Aerospace. They're located out in California. You know, there's been a lot of new regulations and investment in oil and gas assets about trying to reduce methane emissions. You know, and I think for the most part, that hasn't had great results yet. And we decided we really need to help ourselves and help the industry make meaningful reductions in methane emissions. And so, you know, and there's lots and lots of places where you can have emissions in a big interconnected gathering system like ours. We really wanted to focus on where can we make the biggest difference? Where are the biggest emissions? How do we find those the quickest and most cost effectively? And I think that's one of the real challenges for us. You saw in the initial slides, we have 60,000 miles of pipeline, very spread out over 9 states. And, you know, I think if you think about the intensity from a people and time standpoint of trying to go look at all of those lines individually, assess all those lines individually, it's a real challenge for the industry, and it's hard to do, and it's hard to do it cost effectively. So we really started looking for new technology, emerging technology, and Kairos really came to the top of the list with us. You know, they fly spectrometers on airplanes. They fly about 100 miles an hour, and their detector detects a very large swath on the ground. And so rather than looking at individual pipeline right-of-ways, they're able to look at quite a big piece of the gathering system at one time. So we've partnered with them. DCP is conducting the largest industry-led methane survey using aircraft-mounted imaging and spectrometers. Kairos does a great job for us on that. They are able to quantify and reliably sense methane. They've done that in a way that you know, they've got a validated study with Stanford that we were, you know, it's very difficult for a lot of people that do similar type surveys to really quantify the emissions. And Kairos's technology has great correlation. When they tell us how much they think something's emitting and we go check that on the ground, it definitely does that. So this allows us to monitor our assets more frequently, more reliably, more accurately, and more cost effectively than we can do any other way. So they attach their spectrometer and a camera and optical imager to a small airplane. And the cool thing about their technology is it can be deployed anywhere in the world. Literally anywhere you can rent a Cessna, or there is a Cessna at a small airport. And you can imagine our assets are generally speaking not near a lot of major airports. So on a small plane, or you know, where you can rent it, they can bolt on their technology and start flying and assess assets within a matter of days. And then finally, they have a lot of technology behind this. And so it really speeds up the analysis. So it's not like, hey, somebody's sitting, poring over these reports. You could see in the bottom right here, they have automated processing. So the visual imagery, along with the spectrometry imagery, is put together along with GIS data from our assets, and so that we can nail down exactly where we have potential leaks in the system, and literally sometimes as soon as the same day, definitely by the next day after they fly. So I'm going to go on to the next slide and just talk a little bit about what they've done for us. You could see we're monitoring our assets in the DJ and in the Permian. This has been a huge benefit for us. We've been conducting the surveys since March of 2019 in the Permian, and then we just kicked off and announced this year we're going to fly the entire DJ and all of our assets in the Permian Basin here in 2020. We think we find leaks in approximately 3 to 6 months faster than we would otherwise. Again, some of this pipe is in very remote locations, and in gas systems, it's very difficult from kind of a pressure and flow sensing basis to find where the leaks are. So we're able to get actionable insights, like I mentioned, within a couple of days. We found over 100 leaks using Kairos's data, and we think that this has a huge opportunity to become an alternative method to meet the requirements, the compliance requirements of various regulations. I think, we're obviously under the purview of several regulatory agencies and specific regulations around methane emissions. And we really feel like these surveys have the potential to meet those needs, and they're the most cost-effective and most accurate way to get this work done. So, we feel really good about it. We're proud to be leading and kind of helping the industry lead on this. Obviously, none of us want methane emissions. We want the gas to stay in the pipe. We need to do that. We think Kairos has done a great job, and we'll continue to support them and introduce them to other people in the industry, and hope that we can continue to make a difference across the industry on reducing emissions. The more companies that do this, the more cost effective it gets, and the more overall credibility and reliability and sustainability improvement we make as an industry. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Really appreciate your time and attention. I hope you've gotten something out of it. Again, we're really proud of the work that we're doing here at DCP, and I really appreciate the chance to be here and talk today. Thanks.